Welcome back, everyday Americans. You've rejoined the Constitution study. As promised, we have with me Dr. Peter McCullough, my go-to guy for everything pandemic cardiology, basically a lot of medical stuff. I love reaching out to you, doctor, because you explain complex things in ways that are easy to understand. Thank you for your time and joining us here.
Thank you.
So what got my attention this time is I actually heard an interview you did talking about the recent bird flu, which has been all in the news, all the hype after COVID was the bird flu. And apparently there's some new news about the bird flu that I think my audience should be aware of.
The McCullough Foundation has been a major driver in investigative scholarship in this area. And we have a publication out. Nick Hulshaw, our epidemiologist from the University of Michigan, is our first author on this. And the title of it is Proximal Origins of the Current Avian Influenza Outbreak. And it was published in the journal Poultry Wildlife Sciences. And it's a peer-reviewed journal. And the conclusion was that the current clade, or the original source, clade 23446, arose around the USDA Poultry Research Laboratory in Athens, Georgia. All the ecological analysis suggests that they were doing what's called gain-of-function serial passage research in mallard ducks, trying to get the virus to pass from mallard duck to one and another. In fact, that happened. We hypothesized that maybe a duck got out, it spread it to sea mammals and other waterfowl. The virus clearly has infected farms across the United States, across Canada, across the world. It's into 40 different species of mammals now, and spreading mammal to mammal, clearly spreads bird to bird. So the host range has expanded, and the original genotype was the B3.13 genotype. That was mild. It was mild in the animals, and it was mild in humans. It resulted in just pink eye. But in the last few months, things have taken a change for the worse.
So we once again have a lab leak theory that appears to have evidence. Where have I heard that one before? But it again, this time not Wuhan, China. This is our USDA that was experimenting with this. Again, gain of function experimentation that appears, based on evidence, to have gotten out. We don't know how, but it's gotten out. And he said since it's hit the wild, it's really gotten a lot more virulent, or a lot more easily spreadable, I guess. And
right.
really.
So the spread has occurred. We think there were some key co-conspirators here. One is Dr. Karakawa at the University of Wisconsin School of Veterinary Medicine, and the other is Dr. Ron Fouché at Erasmus University. As you know, academic veterinarians and evolutionary biologists, they tend to collaborate across the world, just like they did on SARS-CoV-2 in Wuhan. Now, it's our conclusion. This has not been challenged by the USDA officials. They have all been presented the information, and we haven't heard an alternative explanation. There's been some naysayers on social media and saying, well, this can't be the case. And we said, well, we're open to an alternative explanation then of where this came from.
Yeah, well, it can't be. Well, why can it not be? The why is always my biggest question. And then, so we have this new bird flu, which, of course, like I said, after COVID, as COVID was waning beyond the point where even the politicians could promote the nonsense. Next big thing, we had monkeypox and we had bird flu. And now we have this escaped bird flu, and it's getting more dangerous. Like I said, originally it caused pink eye. And I remember talking about it. It's like, yeah, okay, that's a bummer, but it's not, not that bad. This has been since it's escaped. And then talk to me about the reaction that the federal government has encouraged, and I believe in some cases demanded, about how to deal with infected flocks.
The term is called biosecurity. You'll hear our USDA officials talk about this. Biosecurity, when it comes to bird flu protocol, is to test birds, about a dozen birds, put all the tests in a single test tube, throw the birds back into the bin, and then if a test tube turns positive, you don't know which one of the 12 birds the test is positive. You can't even find the bird that you tested. And so the conclusion is the entire flock should be destroyed. It's a process called culling, which isn't really a proper term. It's really mass destruction. The farmers typically cull out about 1% of birds that are struggling or sick. Anyway, they should just be destroyed. But this wiping out of the entire flock, and McCullough Foundation has investigated this. We've published this on our Substack Focal Points. It means evacuating an entire chicken coop or barn or giant facility, sterilizing it, and then ultimately repopulating it with new baby chickens. And so this whole process takes a facility offline for 111 days on average. And then a new flock is installed. And because the virus is spreading around by migratory waterfowl, the flock promptly gets reinfected again. And so, there'll be one or two birds that are healthy, but they are test positive for bird flu. And then the entire flock is destroyed over and over again. And Paul, you'll be shocked to learn that our government has spent $1.2 billion doing this. And we're approaching 200 million birds that are healthy birds that have been unnecessarily destroyed, as opposed to, producing eggs or chicken. The estimates are from the University of Arkansas Bird Flu Summit that I attended in late 2024, that there's only been 10,000 birds that actually even got bird flu virus. And they don't even know, what the fraction there that the infection was serious or lethal. So this continued biosecurity is nothing short of madness.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a virologist, but I'm a relatively intelligent human being. And if you pull out 20 birds and you mix all that stuff together, you're right, you have no way of knowing which bird that was. And then you take them and you put them back in, which means if one gets sick, well, they could have passed it to all of them. Madness, I don't think madness is a strong enough word. I think this is somewhere between utter idiocracy and an intentional attempt to destroy an industry. Because if I have a sick bird, I have animals, I have pets, and if one is sick, okay, I isolate it. When and either I treat it, or if it can't be treated, I put the poor animal down. But I don't then take them. We had two cats that had picked up feline infectious peritonitis from the center, the rescue that we got them from. Now they survived. It had gotten to the point where they were survived. But guess what? We knew they were infectious. We did not let them go outside. We did not let them around other cats. We did basic protections. Why can't the industry do that? Why is the federal government saying you got to wipe? We're giving you testing that is stupid, and based on that, on 20 birds, one of which at least may got sick, we're going to destroy thousands of them. That, like I said, it's like the federal government said, let's destroy the chicken industry.
But Paul, you have to follow the money. And think about the process. Now, the USDA controls the testing, the PCR testing. So government agents come on these farms or these big facilities. They use the Fisher VetMax PCR test, which is run at a psychothreshold, I'm told, of 45 or higher. So it's very likely to pick up false positives. The government does this form of indiscriminate testing, so they don't know which bird actually has it. And then the order is given by the ag director, or by the company that's running the big facility, to kill all the birds. Now, one of the things is you don't hear the companies, like the biggest egg producer is Cal-Maine. You haven't heard a single executive from Cal-Maine complain about this at all. It's just, and the reason why they're not complaining is they get very large government subsidies to do this, so the government money is flowing. And on top of that, their product is brought to market at a much higher price point. Price of eggs now is, at a 45-year high. And so at a higher price point, they make a greater profit per unit sold. So there are two perverse incentives for the industry to continue this biosecurity measure, which is it's extending the bird flu outbreak. And it's in my estimation, because it's allowed so many flocks to get reinfected over and over again, virgin flocks, with no natural immunity or hardiness developed by the animals, it's allowed for genetic misadventure. And now through the process of what's called mutation or genetic reassortment, now we have a serious strain that's come out of this.
So you're telling me that a federal agency, which by the way is unconstitutional and therefore doesn't legally exist, is spending is embezzling money from the American taxpayer to do the testing, the farms, and giving subsidies to the big egg companies, which not only covers them for their losses, but the losses help drive up the price so they get more profit. Yeah, that sounds like a government program to me. It's funny. My pastor has chickens, and every couple of 3 weeks, he shows up with a bag of eggs. And I refer to them, he's got the chickens that are laying the golden eggs, because they're right. The egg prices are ridiculous. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so thankful I don't have to go out and buy all these eggs. But again, it's another agency that shouldn't exist, that has created such perverse incentives. And once again, the American people are taking it in the teeth, because we have bureaucrats that think they know better than everybody else and are literally destroying an entire industry in this country. Yeah, that has to be a government program.
Well, I had a chance to appear on a show for the first time with a terrific farmer. You may want to have him on your show, Paul. His name is Joe Salatin. He's fantastic. And what I learned from him so much in that show is that this is not affecting the meat chickens very much, because they're not brought to market until a much older age. So I'm sorry, the meat chickens are brought to market at a much younger age, so it's not affecting them. You're younger and healthier. It's the egg-laying chickens, which live to a much older age because they're producing eggs all the time, that when they're wiped out, they're on a much longer life cycle. It takes a longer time to repopulate and get up to full egg production. So you notice that egg prices are rising out of proportion to chicken prices. The other thing I asked Joel is, what should have been done? He said what should have been done was what's always been done with bird flu. Bird flu has been around for over 100 years. There's a review by Lysette and colleagues from the UK showing, listen, it's nothing new. What should be done is that when bird flu sweeps through, the farmers should dispose of the sick chickens that just physically look sick. Let the other chickens develop immunity, hardiness, and robustness. And so, because the chickens are not all on the same schedule, this overall group immunity or herd immunity will shade in, and the problem will essentially burn itself out. Normally, a bird flu outbreak burns out in 2 years. This one's now extending on to its 5th year because of this senseless biosecurity measures. And the big companies that have gotten the subsidies, they're repeat offenders. They keep getting repeated subsidies. So it's obvious when they, sterilize a facility, take it offline, bring it back online, it's getting infected again.
Well, you're telling me that God created animals with an immune system to fight off disease, and that when you actually let them fight off disease, it works a lot better than when mankind comes in and makes an utter hash of everything.
That's true. And, we have not seen our veterinarian community come out and say, listen, here's a different approach. We haven't seen our USDA hold any roundtables with veterinarians, medical doctors, ag directors. We just haven't heard any leadership. Our USDA new director, Brooke Rollins, got up and said, well, there's a 5-pronged strategy, and one of them is we're going to import more eggs. It's like, no, that's not the solution to import eggs. We just need to let our egg-laying hens live. They're not going to transmit bird flu through the eggs. And you don't transmit bird flu through chicken as long as you cook meat more than 165 degrees, which you need to anyway because chickens have salmonella and other pathogens. We're fine. The only advice I would give is not to drink raw milk. It can be transmitted through raw milk. But of the cases of humans that have gotten infected, in a paper by Garg and colleagues, January 25th of 2025, all of the poultry to human transmission occurred in this biosecurity program called culling. So the poor workers who are ordered to kill the chickens, that's how they get the virus. So it's completely counterproductive.
Yeah, I think that's a polite term for it. There are some others. Again, Dr. McCullough, I want to thank you for your time. I love talking to you. Again, you gave us the details we needed in ways we could understand. And you explained why. Hey, we've got 10,000 sick birds. Let's kill a few million. That's every time you go to the grocery store, I want people to think of that number. Where can people find out more about the work that you're doing? Where can they follow you?
Well, Paul, I'd say importantly, we watched this happen. I'm the chief scientific officer at the Wellness Company. We watched this development. We said, enough's enough. Wellness companies stepped in for America with a program called Prevent and Protect. Now, this is a free program for farmers where they can get bird flu kits, individually prescribed kits that will have iodine nasal and throat sprays and or medicines if they do contract bird flu to be used early, and it'll make the syndrome mild. And so we think by providing a mass number of early treatment and prevention kits to our farmers, that should reduce fear in that community. And, this is something the government should be doing, or this is something that Cal-Maine and the big egg and big chicken companies should be doing. So they not only are, participating in this counterproductive, expensive biosecurity program, but they're not protecting the workers. The masks and respirators and gowns, they don't work anyway. So we should have protection. And the virus is easily killed by dilute povidone iodine nasal sprays, throat sprays, and gargles. If I was a worker, I had chickens, I'd be doing this twice a day. And I'd make sure I have the medicines on hand if I started to get sick that I can take. Wellness Company has stepped in and done that for America when our agencies have failed.
That's awesome. And where would somebody go to find the Wellness Company to get this access to this program?
Go to twc.health and you should be able to navigate from there to the Prevent and Protect program. If you go on my social media stream anywhere, you'll see we've posted it all over. We've done a post on America Out Loud, our shared platform, Paul, where there's a post there. And the farmers simply have to click on that. They have to enter their license number and a few things, and then the process is put in place, and the kits will be prescribed and sent out to the workers.
Dr. McCullough, thank you for all that you do. Once again, the Wellness Company ahead of the game with how do we deal with the problem, not make it worse. Thank you for your time. Good luck in all that you're doing, and I can't wait to find out what you find next.
Okay, well, follow us at McCullough Foundation, McCulloughFND.org, and subscribe to Focal Points Substack. Every day we get the graphical abstracts, the updates, the critical information you need to stay safe. Thanks so much for having me, Paul.
Thank you.